SpaceX has
Island,
pulled,
yeah.
that's right. That's right. Has pulled off another successful launch over the weekend, sending a classified payload of satellites into orbit for the National Reconnaissance Office. Here's how it went down. The Falcon 9 rocket lifted off from California's Vandenberg Space Force Base, I think at 3 a.m. Eastern Time, which was 11 p.m. So it was barely on under the weekend, but it was 11 p.m. Friday. The mission, known as NROL-126, carried an undisclosed number of satellites designed to support U.S. national security efforts. Details? They're classified, of course, but the NRO missions typically enhance surveillance, intelligence capabilities. This launch is all about keeping an eye on things that matter. What specifically that is, I'm not 100% sure. The Falcon 9's first stage returned to Earth, landing perfectly on a drone ship in the Pacific. Another win for reusability and precision. I mean, SpaceX is just continuing to cement its role as the go-to for sensitive government payloads, proving once again that it is the MVP of space launches.
Yeah, so challenge for me on this one's all to do with the NRO. It's that integration and utilization of the data once they're up there. So launching the satellites is cool, but if that intelligence doesn't seamlessly integrate into the defense systems that it's been put up there to communicate with, and the decision-making tools are there in real time, it's just going to be a bunch of space junk that's up there. So that's, for me, the number one. The bottleneck isn't the rocket or the payload. It's making sure that that data is reaching the analysts back on Earth fast, clean, making sure it's actionable data.
Secrets. Too many secrets. Have you seen Sneakers? Great 1990s movie. If you haven't, go watch it. But anyway, Too Many Secrets was referenced there. But so we're looking here at the largest government constellation to date. And this is showing a move to smaller, low-cost satellites for the intelligence gathering. A lot has to be considered here. I think the launch itself, while is a challenge, is the lesser of all the challenges. I think I'm going to actually have to agree a little bit with Andrew here. Sorry, Greg. And say that the data that has to be delivered is going to be the biggest thing. It's got to be delivered fast, within seconds, within minutes. It's got to be reliable. It's got to be accurate. I think figuring out that data gathering and delivery is actually the biggest challenge here.
Yep. We're on the same page. I mean, it's useless if it doesn't integrate and it doesn't drive decision making in minutes, not days. That's the bottleneck. That's the trick here. You got to deal with that data, get that operational, get it coming back to Earth.
And it's not just the data gathering that has to work. It's also figuring out, in order to gather the data, these have to be deployed into the right orbits and the right positions, has to be do all the calculations of where things are when they're gathering data. And it's got to make sure everything is working correctly in this environment where, can they self-repair or need to have redundancies? What happens when things break? And all of that has to be done in order to collect the data and send it back home. So for me, to get all of that to work, I think it's going to be mostly a look of what are our requirements and did we test correctly. And Andrew's going to say something different.
No, I'm with you, man. I'm with you. It starts with requirements. Absolutely right. Making sure you've got those payload requirements matched into the downstream defense systems that they need for real-time use. So I think you're absolutely right. Requirements. I think then if we go on in our critical threat and how we solve it, we've got to have a good design and change management solution in there, making sure standardized data protocols into the payload designs to make sure you've got simplified handoffs post-launch. And then you've got your product validation. So you've got to be able to test end-to-end data flows from satellite transmission to intelligence platforms presumably back on Earth or in the cloud. Anyway, then, yeah, you're going to say.
I was just curious if what Greg thought about the fact that we seem like we're in the same orbit here.
Again?
Yeah, it's getting to me a little bit. So I'm gonna need to think about this. While I'm thinking about it, is there anything we can do?